Welcome, everyone, to the Breakaway with David and Fabian. Today, we have some very important stories that you need to know about, so let's get into it.
Yeah, let's get right into it. First of all, we have to visit this amazing clip of DeSantis absolutely slamming Kamala Harris over politicizing the hurricane that's about to hit Florida just in a day or so. Also, the FBI arrests an Afghan man who officials say planned an election day attack in the United States. We've been hearing a lot of rumors that this could possibly happen due to the open border, and it looks like it finally happened. Tim Walz last night called for us to abolish the Electoral College at a private fundraiser held at Gavin Newsom's residence. So it makes it even better. One of the NFL head coaches was just fired, and there's a lot of rumors about why he was fired. So we're going to look into some of those rumors and see if they're actually true. And we're also going to go back and see what Kamala Harris has been up to besides her going on a podcast called Her Daddy and whatnot. She made the rounds of going on some of these shows like Howard Stern, The View, 60 Minutes, late night show with, I forgot which one of the late night hosts, but yeah, Fabian, let's get right into it.
Yeah, also, guys, we have a special topic that we're going to cover is something from the National Institute of Health that just came out today. Very, very eye-opening, something that we've been talking about for quite a while and people kind of knew about, but now finally the government acquiesced and agreed that this is exactly what's happening. So make sure you stay tuned for that special report.
Yeah, and we probably, at least I won't be streaming it on my YouTube or on TikTok because we're not trying to get banned.
I'm gonna do it in a very careful way.
We're gonna probably go and you can just exclusively watch that on X. So if you aren't already doing that, if you're watching this through the side on TikTok, make sure that you go to the link in the bio in our place, and you can go and find the stream on YouTube and these various other places. But Fabian, why don't we turn into some, but let's start with some news that's about to happen. So obviously there's a big hurricane that's on the way right now.
Hurricane Milton,
and it formed really quickly. Usually hurricanes, they start as a tropical storm breaking off in West Africa. About after 10 to maybe 14 days, they eventually make their way here as a hurricane. They hit us, they don't hit us, but this was just a tropical storm in somewhere in Mexico.
Second one in 2 weeks, by the way.
Second one in 2 weeks. And there's rumors about why that's happening. We'll may touch up on this, but that's going to impact Florida in the next day, in the next 24 hours. So obviously Governor DeSantis has been getting Florida prepared for that. I think one of the best governors in America right now. He's done a fantastic job about that. But you know who hasn't done a good job about that? Somebody that's been trying to politicize everything. It is Kamala Harris. So why don't we pull up this clip? Let's see if we can actually pull it up. So Kamala Harris was asked on The View what she thinks about if she's prepared for it. First of all, what happened with Hurricane Helene, and then what is going on with the preparations for this hurricane that's about to impact Florida, Hurricane Milton. So why don't we listen to this?
You know, moments of crisis, if nothing else, should really be the moment that anyone who calls themselves a leader says they're going to put politics aside and put the people first. People are in desperate need of support right now, and playing political games with this moment in these crisis situations, these are the height of emergency situations, is just utterly irresponsible, and it is selfish, and it is about political gamesmanship instead of doing the job that you took an oath to do, which is to put the people first.
So per usual, politicizing everything. What about The View? What did she say on The View?
It's a shame that that hasn't happened, but look, it has at the local level and with, other state elected. So
he'll take your call when you're president.
Here's the thing you should know on that point. And when I'm president, I will continue to call him to see what he needs for help.
Maybe he won't be in office anymore then.
All right. Well, The View, all the panelists on The View combined together have about a collective IQ that's finally getting somewhere close to room temperature.
Or about a slice of cheese. Literally.
Exactly. But let's see how DeSantis responded to this.
And we've been laser focused on leveraging all resources available, including from the federal government. And I've been in touch with both FEMA and the president, as well as marshaling all our state agencies and working to support our local communities And so for Kamala Harris to try to say that my sole focus on the people of Florida is somehow selfish is delusional. She has no role in this. In fact, she's been vice president for 3.5 years. I've dealt with a number of storms under this administration. She has never contributed anything to any of these efforts. And so what I think is selfish
Has she ever
is her
called
trying to
before?
blunder into this. No. And here's
Has
the
she ever
thing.
called before?
She has no role. No, she has no role in this process. I'm in contact with the president of the United States. I'm in contact with FEMA director. I'm obviously managing all our state agencies. We're supporting all our local government. And I will say this, I've had storms under both President Trump and President Biden, and I've worked well with both of them. She's the first one who's trying to politicize the storm, and she's doing that just because of her campaign. She's trying to get some type of an edge. She knows she's doing poorly, and so she's playing these political games. I don't have time for political games. I've got people whose lives are on the line. I've got people whose homes and their possessions are on the line, and we are focused 100% on that mission. I'm not worried about playing her political games. And so she is being selfish by trying to blunder into this when we're working just fine.
Boom, Fabian.
Political gamesmanship at its highest. You know, the thing about this entire hurricane situation, especially from Kamala Harris's side, is she's trying to win an election right now. She's failing in all the swing states. She's polling lower and lower every single day. They've now released her onto the media because for a while people were saying, why has she not done any interviews? Not even one. And then she did one. It went badly. They put her back in her little cage. Now, when they see poll numbers dropping, you know, why would you change your campaign strategy at the last minute if everything is going so well? You don't. When we see Kamala Harris going across all the media, it's because they understand that she's failing everywhere. So the last-ditch effort is to get her out there and see if she can find some commonality with voters. But unfortunately, as we've seen in the 60 Minutes interview that just came out, CNN's even bashing her. She does not look good. She was on Stephen Colbert last night saying a lot of nothing. She's recycling the same lines that she said that really don't say anything to voters. And to try to one up Ron DeSantis, that's a very bad thing to do. He's an incredible manager, incredible governor. He's a bad campaigner, but he's a great politician. So if you're going to pick this battle that has nothing to do with Trump, it's not going to hurt Trump whatsoever because it's not even involving Trump. It's only involving Florida, which is literally the best ran state, which people from California, her state, are leaving to. There's no upside with this fight. So if I were her campaign strategist, I'd say, shut up, don't talk about this anymore, let it go away because you're not helping yourself at all.
Absolutely. I think so. In reality, what happens is that Biden is actually working with these governors, helping them get the resources that they need. They're in constant communication with FEMA. And then she tries to assert herself somewhere in there because maybe they're finally conceding to us that Biden isn't actually there. Like he's not able to be the president. So she has to act like the president. If that's true, that they need to make that publicly known. They can't have it both ways. They can't have the VP acting like the president just because there's an election in 30 days. DeSantis is not taking your call because there's nothing that you can help him in order to coordinate this stuff unless you're actually the president or you're the head of a certain agency. Fabian, you pointed out a good example, and we're going to look at this stuff at the very end of the show. So make sure that you guys stay for the funniest clips. It's Kamala Harris's incredible word salad on every show that she went on to. Howard Stern, late night show with Stephen Colbert. You said
Steve Colbert.
Steve Colbert. 60 Minutes, The View. She's done all of this stuff. Call Her Daddy, all in less than a week. Why? Because internal polls are showing that she is doing horrible. She's lost white educated males now. Guess what she's depending on solely now? Single moms, single liberal moms.
Who are single issue voters, which is abortion.
Exactly.
I also want to pull up some shade that Joe Biden, Joe Biden post getting ousted in a soft coup is actually my favorite Joe Biden. So this is actually what he said, kind of countering her narrative where she was trying to say that Ron DeSantis didn't take her call, etc. Here's what Joe Biden said about this.
The governor of Florida has been cooperative. He said he's gotten all that he needs. I talked to him again yesterday.
And I said, I said, no, you're doing a great job. It's all being done well. We thank you for it. And I literally gave my personal phone number to call. So I don't know. There was a rough start in some places, but every governor from Florida to North Carolina has been fully cooperative and supportive and acknowledged what this team is doing. And they're doing an incredible job. They've got a lot more to do.
Well, see, perfect point right there is that she's trying to politicize this because she needs political gain right now, because she's obviously has internal polls that are just absolutely slaughtering the good vibes that they were riding on for now. And this is, again, to remind people the above average performance that we expected her to have during the debate. So she had a better than expected performance at the debate, and internal polls are still showing that it ain't looking good for her, right? So
well, the thing is that debate was what, 3 weeks ago now?
Yeah.
So much has happened since then. There's been an assassination, assassination.
That was before.
That was before. That was before?
Okay. And
The
isn't that
Florida one.
crazy that they didn't even bring that up during the debate?
Oh, they wouldn't, because
Oh.
it would help Trump.
Maybe it happened, actually, I think it might have happened before the VP debate. That's what it was. Sorry.
So
bad.
there was that. We've had a hurricane. We've had tons of stuff. No one cares about this one thing that we had, which lasted an hour or so on this network, that a lot of people can even tell that, they were obviously, it was 3 versus 1 on the side of Kamala Harris. So much has happened. People have forgotten about that. We have real problems now. And the way that you see a leader face these problems in real time really shows you what kind of leader they're going to be. And she's completely fumbled this entire hurricane disaster, and literally everything else happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Which again is why she's not only just going on these shows, but she's doing stupid stuff like trying to politicize the hurricane, especially the response. Now, when can you politicize the response to a hurricane? With what happened with Hurricane Helene in North Carolina and Tennessee. Why can you criticize that and turn it into a political issue? Because obviously you have agencies that are meant to help people.
Well,
failing.
first, it already happened.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. There you go. It already happened, right? Now, I understand if the governor was completely not coordinating with, first of all, local officials. That's the most important thing. Now, if the local officials don't have the resources, or, for example, they need more stuff, then obviously that's when they reach out to the federal government. Well, DeSantis did that. He's in touch with FEMA, a federal agency, as well as that he's in touch with Biden. And you just heard Biden even say that. So Kamala looks really, really dumb, continues to actually look dumb here, because she's trying to politicize something that didn't even happen yet. And there's no issue so far with the resources or whatever it is. Again, she's actually making things worse for herself.
Yeah, and you're attacking what is, on many people's account, the most popular governor in the entire country.
Yeah,
literally the most popular governor. And again, it has nothing to do with Trump. Nothing. So you're not going to draw any votes away from Trump by getting in a tit-tat with Governor DeSantis. His people really like him. So if you're attacking the state that they believe is doing really well, it might actually turn voters in their own state even further away. Obviously, we know Florida's going for Trump, but people hear this around the country, especially people in North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, who have been very affected by this hurricane. And they're saying, look, we got this massive problem over here. You're offering us $750 to do what? And then you're attacking someone else. Like this is not the way you handle situations. And I think, again, we're going to see in the polls the next few days. I expect to see her drop even more in the swing states.
She's been dropping, at least on polling market, so crazy, like nosediving after that rally.
Yeah.
with Trump, Elon Musk, right at the same place where there was it's crazy. But let's turn tables to another disaster. I don't even know if that's the right phrase, but why don't we shift gears? There you go, to another disaster. And it's that FBI arrests an Afghan man who officials say planned election day attack in the U.S. It looks like everybody's worst nightmare is coming true. The FBI arrested an Afghan man who officials say was inspired by ISIS and was plotting an election day attack targeting large crowds in the U.S., the Justice Department said Tuesday. The individual's name, who I won't say on here, 27-year-old of Oklahoma City, told investigators after his arrest Monday that he planned his attack to coincide with Election Day next month, and that he and his co-conspirators expected to die as martyrs. These individuals had a plan and already had ordered AK-47s. They liquidated their family's assets and all this various stuff. Now, do you think that he came here legally?
Hold on, one second. How is it that we have all this information from the FBI about what this guy did with his assets, what he did, what he told his mother, and we don't even know anything about Thomas Crooks and the other individual who tried to unalive Donald Trump at the golf course, right? Like, why is it that when nothing happens, we get a bunch of information from the FBI, but yet when something does happen, we get no information from the FBI? Like, this article seems a little fishy. I mean, this whole situation does.
Yeah, it's definitely. And that's actually a good point to bring up there, is that if for some reason, when stuff like this is about to happen or expected to happen, we have the full-blown details on it. But when something happens, I mean, months and months later, we still don't actually know the intentions behind Thomas Crook, or we still don't know anything in terms of full details and who they communicated with and all this stuff. But here we have great, sources. Even something that is a photograph from July included an affidavit depicts a man investigators identified as the individual who they arrested, reading to two young children, including his daughter, a text that describes the reward a martyr receives in the afterlife. So they even have such a crazy detail like that. But Fabian, so the individual came into the United States not on a plane, on a visa or something like that. How do you think they entered the United States?
I would say they hopped over the beautiful when there's no border, so he just walked across. I was going to say the border, but what border?
Exactly.
He just walked.
Yeah, exactly. And that's been the biggest fear for everybody. And people don't understand that when you have an open border like we do right now, it is a matter of national security. And we don't even have to talk about drugs like fentanyl and how that impacts overall American society. But let's talk about incidents like this, where individuals who are ideologically driven by whatever religious belief can enter the United States to commit harm to the American public and essentially, achieve whatever it is that terrorists want to achieve, which is terrorize us and make us hide in our homes versus enjoy the entertainment, the places that we have, are coming into the United States and are able to plot this stuff through a wide open border. And nobody's doing anything about it.
Yeah, anytime this just seems a little weird to me. I don't know what the facts are. We're just being told things from the FBI, the organization who hides everything, the organization who literally won't disclose the Epstein list, that waited months to get Diddy. Like, this is one of the dirtiest organizations that needs to be cleaned out from the bottom up. So whenever I hear something coming from them, I mean, sure, it could be factual. It could also be a scare tactic. It could be, I mean, we don't know what they're planning, but we know that the establishment does not want Donald Trump as president. We've seen so many things happen. So I always have a very, very funny feeling when I'm hearing things directly from the FBI about things that didn't happen, but they're telling us, showing us pictures of this guy, and they have this incredible wealth of information on him and what he's been doing, these tickets he bought, what he texted his wife or something like this.
I also stand corrected. So the two co-conspirators actually entered the United States illegally through the southern border. They don't know exactly when, but they say anywhere between 2021 and 2023. The actual individual that they identified, the head leader of this entire thing, entered the United States on a special immigrant visa in 2021 and has been on parole status pending the conclusion of his immigration proceedings, according to the Justice Department. The program permits eligible Afghans who helped Americans despite great personal risks to themselves and their loved ones to apply for entry into the American families. So
this was that program that was being discussed where Trump said, they're like, what did they say? They said, why did you enforce this ban? He goes, look, we have people who are very anti-America coming in this country, even if they're from countries that were helping us. We need to vet them more.
Yeah,
we can't just shorten the vetting process because we don't know if these people are truly good. And I forget which interview it was, but they were pressing him and saying, well, if someone helped America, don't they deserve to be here? He goes, if they're good people.
Yeah.
Like if just because they helped America doesn't mean that they like America.
And how can we verify that they actually help, right? You need stronger vetting. And obviously, if the FBI just arrested an individual that came to the United States on this program, meaning that they deemed him as somebody that actually helped America, but is plotting an attack on Americans on election day, the administration is obviously failing. The agency is failing. The process is failing. And guess what, Fabian? All they actually want to do is provide more of these individuals who are going to vet, not stricter vetting, but more individuals that can vet so they can get through the vetting process quicker. Not safer, but quicker. And that is the dangerous thing about that. And that is exactly what they're trying to do at the southern border with the bill that they tried to pass, is that they were going to establish more justices so they can just fast track through all of the asylum cases, right?
JV, it's only 5,000 a day. And then
Only.
if the government decides, if Biden decides that it's too much for the day, then they shut it down. Imagine that logic. Hey guys, come in. Imagine what a rush every single day. You'd be one of the first people in there to make it through, one of the first 5,000.
Yep.
Right. And it's not like they're counting it in an orderly way. When they open those floodgates, people are going to rush like a mass of humanity.
Absolutely.
And then we're going to say, oh, you know, what are you going to have, like a clicker, like at the nightclubs? You know,
Absolutely. That's
clicking.
exactly. They're going to just give people out tickets, you know, just like they're waiting in line to get their bologna or whatever
at
it
the
is.
DMV. All right, take a ticket. Your number. Sorry, you're 5,001. Come back tomorrow.
Come back. Oh, what do you mean come back tomorrow? There's a gap in the southern border. I can just go through that because that was a cap on people going through the port of entry.
Yeah.
What about the 5,000, 10,000 that come in every single day, not through the port of entry, and then rush to the first border patrol agents that they see? Now, they would say, David, why would they break the law entering the United States illegally and rush to an official like a border patrol agent? Because the current policy under the Biden administration doesn't allow border patrol agents to exercise anything besides detaining the individual, bringing them to a detention center, giving them the same ticket that they would have received at the port of entry, giving them an iPhone and say, come back for a court case. And by the way, we can't keep you here at this detention center for more than 48 hours.
Because it's inhumane.
Because it's inhumane. So why don't we put you on a flight to, you want to go to Chicago? You want to go to, I don't know, New York City?
And free hotels. I feel like this is an episode of The Price is Right. He's like, you get a free hotel.
You get one. It's like Oprah. You get one. You need a free house. You get one.
You get one and we pay for it.
And we pay for it. And
what a deal. What a deal that is, right? Like if we were on Deal or No Deal and someone was, and if that was a deal they proposed to me, I would, 110% turn it down because it's just ridiculous. Like what kind of deal are the American people getting? We get taxed for everything. We get to get, and for us paying money to the government, what do we get in return? Open borders, tax money wasted, taking $1 billion out of FEMA's budget to fund illegal migrants, to pay cities to take them in because the cities don't want to take them in. They're like, no, we don't have enough money. So the government's telling them, hey, look we're going to take $1 billion from FEMA, give it to you, New York, give it to you, Chicago, so you can at least make money.
And not only that, but then the state itself has to allocate $1 billion of the taxpayers' money towards the stuff.
Yep.
And you literally, people say that's a conspiracy, that's misinformation. Go look at what New York City former Mayor Adams, or he's still the
soon to be former mayor,
right? So it's absolutely ridiculous. But actually, Fabian, that's not true. That's not all we get. You forgot what Democrats have been telling us, that this is inclusive integration. So we should be happy about this. Everything that we just explained is not because it somehow materially will benefit us as American citizens. It's just for the better of the good in terms of inclusive integration to the most diverse country already.
There you go.
I don't understand why they don't need more, diverse integration or whatever it is, inclusive integration in countries in Europe and whatnot, predominantly white ones, but whatever.
So I want to play this video because it ties into what we're talking about. The other aspect of the deal is that we were able to get this, and beautiful Chuck Schumer, in all his wisdom, said that there's something that we need in order to keep America great.
The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here. The only way we're going to have a great future.
So he literally said, get citizenship for all of them. Dreamers, illegals, everybody gets, he's literally telling you there. So he's saying it.
It's been a plan for the longest that we've known, or at least that I've been following politics, is that Democrats want to give a pathway to citizenship to all illegal immigrants in the country. Couple that with what's been happening the last 3.5 years, that they've literally just had an open border to let as many people in as possible. They say it's about 10 million, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's probably 15 or 20 million that in the last 3.5 years have entered the country. We know for a fact it's 10 million because that's how many we've apprehended, but how many we didn't apprehend. Now think about this. If the US has 30 million, 35 million illegal immigrants in the US, out of which half of them entered the country in just the last 3.5 years, and they just declare overnight, essentially, citizenship for all of them, what are they going to do?
Well, and he
How
even
are they going
said
to vote?
he even said 11 million or however many they are. You see that this language that's interjected into his statement. 11 million or however many they are. Like, it's just nothing. Oh, guys, it's okay. Yeah, but all of them. And then also there's a video. I don't know where it's at right now. I don't want to pull it up, but where they say that we're going to have to allow illegal immigrants into the army and train them and then send them out on missions to a battlefield or somewhere in the world. And then that's how they can earn their citizenship. And I believe it was Chuck Schumer also saying this, right? We see that we now have non-legal police officers in a city of San Francisco, I believe. And there's one other city, at least that I've heard of, non-American officers enforcing the law of America that aren't even American.
It's crazy.
So now how do you create this war between two types of people? Not classes, not races, but just legal Americans and illegal Americans, or not even Americans, just illegals. Is you give the power. Number one is you don't enforce a law on the illegals. That already pisses the Americans off because they're like, why do I have to abide by these laws if they're not? The second is that you create a second class of citizens that can actually enforce the law on the citizens themselves.
Yeah.
So they're not citizens, they're a different form of illegal immigrant that has the power to enforce the American law on the legal citizens here. I mean, imagine what imagine what George Orwell would say. He'd say, yep, told you so.
I wonder what people would say if they actually saw the clip of Kamala Harris advocating for sex change surgeries subsidized by taxpayers' money for illegal criminals, people sitting in jail. She actually wants to do that for people in jail, which just goes on top of it all. But again, why are they doing all of this? And then why do we see Chuck Schumer come out and say we want to give citizenship to everybody here that is here illegally? Well, it may have to do with something that we saw happen yesterday at a fundraiser at Gavin Newsom's local residence or private residence, sorry. And that was Tim Walz speaking to the audience and telling them that we need to let go of the Electoral College. Now, imagine overnight, we don't have the Electoral College. And then the following night, we give citizenship to 35 million illegal criminals. What is going to happen? We are never, ever, we will never see Republicans have a majority anywhere, not even win the presidency, not have a majority in the House, not even have a majority in the Senate. Done deal.
It's like Elon said, it'll be a one-party state, a one-party country, and then you'll never have democracy or any form of democracy ever again. And we know what they want is not democracy. It's their own version of what they consider democracy, which is not an American-style democracy, as many people call it. Now, one thing that I did want to mention is the Electoral College. What it's meant to do is to give people who don't live in cities, let's say the people who actually produce our food, who actually make the things that we eat, to give them more of a voice instead of just letting everyone who lives in cities determine what the course of the country is going to be. I mean, if you think about it, the people in the city rely on what the people in the countryside make. Without the people in the countryside, they can't eat, they can't drink, they can't do anything. So
I don't know why they're such haters of the Electoral College, especially Democrats, since they nonstop talk about equality and equal representation. And may I even add, they love DEI. Well, freaking hell, Electoral College is pretty much the DEI of elections, right?
Yes, it is.
In our form of government, in a federalist society where there's federal government and then there's state government, it means that every state should have an equal representation in deciding what the federal law will be, since it has an impact on every state at that point. That is why essentially we have the Electoral College, because it's a perfect way to represent all voices. Democrats have only started to advocate this stuff in the last 30 years because we've had this, I guess, phenomenon where they win the popular vote, but they lose in the Electoral College. Well, guess what was happening before that? Republicans, or the Conservative Party was winning the popular vote as well. And they didn't want to get rid of the Electoral College because that is how they were winning the presidency.
Yep.
It's going to hurt them in the long run. They always love to set some weird precedent that when it's good for them, they love it. When it's bad for them, they'll claim that it's us that made it all bad and whatnot. But
yep. Also, I did find the video of Kamala Harris saying that she wants to give criminals transgender surgeries. Here it is.
Learned that the California Department of Corrections, which was a client of mine, I didn't get to choose my clients.
Right. A client of the Attorney
A
General.
client of the Attorney General,
Right.
of the Office of Attorney General, that they were standing in the way of surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. And there was a specific case. And when I learned about the case, I worked behind the scenes to not only make sure that that transgender woman got the services she was deserving. So it wasn't only about that case. I made sure that they changed the policy in the state of California so that every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access to the medical care that they desired and need. And I believe it was not only, I know it was historic in California, but I believe actually it may have been one of the first, if not the first in the country, where I pushed for that policy in a Department of Corrections.
oh
Well,
my God.
I'll tell you what, that commercial is going all over the internet right now. They ran it actually during the Monday Night Football game just the other day, and it's a very, very persuasive commercial. Even Charlemagne the God, who is this he's a very popular black podcaster, radio host, whatever he is.
The Breakfast Club.
The Breakfast Club. He was even saying like, "Wow, like I didn't know that," and he was even saying that's a great commercial.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, honestly, I don't think anybody truly supports such outrageous measures or initiatives, whatever way you want to phrase this. But again, it's common sense between average Americans, hardworking Americans earning 75 grand a year, 100 grand a year. Screwed, even if you're earning 200 grand a year, it's common sense that your taxpayer money probably shouldn't go to subsidize individuals who the very first thing that they did when they entered the country is break a law. And just so we can get this out the way as well, we probably shouldn't have laws that continuously incentivize these individuals to do this stuff, right? I mean, like, I'm sure nobody is being incentivized in terms of illegal to commit crime because if they go to jail, they'll be able to have a sex change surgery or something like that. But we have to consider the various ways that we actually incentivize people to commit crimes in terms of break the law by entering the country illegally.
Yeah. Absolutely. One quick thing I did see, and I don't know if this is verified or not, but it looks like North Carolina the Board of Elections has now changed the voting rules in the counties affected by the hurricanes 10 days before early voting starts. Rule changes are easier access to absentee ballot, more time to apply for ballots, drop off anywhere in the state, assistant teams to help collect the ballots. The county board will also hire poll workers from other counties and move them all around the state.
So here's where I get a little suspicious. North Carolina is a must win for both of these candidates. If Trump wins North Carolina, Georgia, Pennsylvania, he wins the election. We don't need to even talk about Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, none of that stuff. She can't reach 270 without winning North Carolina and Georgia, obviously. You can't necessarily win North Carolina with losing in Georgia. So they go hand in hand. This is where things get a little suspicious to me because, again, we entered the 2020 area where they had an emergency and they declared outrageous rules, such as allowing universal mail-in ballots just to individuals that are on the voter rolls. After now, what we're seeing, people being let go off or being, taken off the voter rolls because they're illegible, whatever it is, by the hundreds of thousands. So now what is going to happen in North Carolina, a most important win state? I don't know. It's kind of suspicious.
It's going to be very, very interesting. I actually got the video of this. Fox News actually did a segment on it.
Hurricane Helene wreaked havoc on North Carolina. The state will be reeling from the damage for years. And the storm just isn't impacting people's lives. It's affecting the election. Last night, the North Carolina Board of Elections announced changes to voting rules in counties impacted by Hurricane Helene. And some people are concerned. Senior political correspondent Kevin Cork is here. Kevin.
Evening, Jesse. They're talking about major changes in the voting process. Now, this is, they say, designed to help displaced voters in the Tar Heel state not only cast their ballots, but also make sure they have their voices heard this November. However, some Republicans are expressing deep reservations about the plan because of concerns about voter integrity. Now, the changes were approved by unanimous vote by the bipartisan board, coming just 10 days before early voting begins in the battleground state, and even as mail-in voting is already underway. Now, a couple of the changes I want to tell you about, including this: voters in the 13 counties that have been heavily affected by Hurricane Helene will now have more ways to obtain and deliver absentee ballots. By the way, more storms coming possibly. Voters in those counties will have longer to apply for absentee ballots. They'll be allowed to drop their ballots off anywhere in the state, not just in their home county. There'll also be teams that'll be sent to storm relief centers to help register more voters and, you guessed it, collect more ballots. What's more, the county boards will also be able to, by a bipartisan majority, hire poll workers from other counties and then move them all around the state to ensure there are enough experienced workers at each voting site.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Fabian, now imagine this. Florida is impacted really hard by this Hurricane Milton, and they have to do the exact same thing. And I hate to say it, I feel like that just opens the door to more shenanigans, anomalies, crazy stuff that will happen in these two states because of that. And I don't know if there's damage to South Georgia. Maybe that'll impact Georgia as well. And man, it just gives me the 2020 vibes again, where they're using all of these emergency reasons why to, I guess, make access to ballots easier, right? That's their guise of what they're trying to do here.
Yeah. Well, and also, I don't know, I saw that there's another hurricane already forming.
Yeah.
And this one, I mean, it's very early, but this one can hit the entire eastern seaboard, going up Florida, hitting the same exact area that's about to be hit right now, and then go up the eastern seaboard. So, meaning North Carolina, Georgia, these Virginia area. So, I mean, look, I don't know what in the hell is happening. I don't think I've ever seen 3 weeks in a row where we've had 3 massive Category 4 plus hurricanes.
Yep.
I don't know in the history of humanity. I haven't checked all the stats, but I've been doing some research into them. And yeah, they're hurricane season, but week after week after week of Category 4 plus,
Yep.
like that's literally unprecedented.
It is. It absolutely is. It's but again, don't hit me with the climate change stuff.
Blame it on China, right?
Exactly.
You gotta blame it on China.
Blame it on China.
If it's climate change, hey, China's the biggest polluter. So hey, China, it's your fault.
Yeah, exactly. As you can go verify that for yourself. But let's take a quick look at some pop culture related stuff. So Robert Saleh, I really don't. I'm butchering his last name, but the head coach for the football team, the Jets, NFL. He was fired, and relatively like kind of out of nowhere. The team isn't doing too bad. It's 2-3, but it happened after this week's loss and whatnot. But he just so happened to wear a Lebanese flag like patch on his shoulder in the game on Sunday.
Oh, did he? I didn't know this.
Yeah, and this isn't the first time he's done this. He's done this the week before. He did this last year. But a very big, popular sports radio host actually came out and said that played a huge factor in why he was fired. First of all, the reason he's wearing that patch and why he's worn it in the past is because he's from Lebanon. And this month in NFL, it's like Heritage Month or something like that. So all of the coaches, players, whatever it is, they'll wear a patch representing whatever country that they're from, just for their culture, heritage, DEI stuff in the NFL, right? Or whatever. But all of this stuff happened, and they're attributing that his firing for that. But there's no actual evidence or proof, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I felt like we should cover that real quickly because it is on the New York Post. The New York Post is framing it in certain ways, but it is still saying that there's no actual proof to show that. And also, he's done this in the past. He did this last year. He did that the year before, probably. I don't know. I checked it just for last year, and nothing happened. He was absolutely fine. So I think it's safe to say that maybe it wasn't the reason why he was fired. Maybe it's just the fact that they're looking to go on to another coach.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're 2-3 and you feel like you should be 4-1, and a few plays or a few determinations that the coach could have done differently would have changed the outcome of the game, then yeah, especially if you have someone else who you were kind of thinking of getting, but you were like, okay, let's try this guy with the same as the backup quarterback. It could just be one of those things.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know any. I mean, I could see if it did like maybe like a pro-Palestine one, because that's more current in the news. But the Lebanese thing, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, but there you go. That was our 2-3 minutes.
3 minutes of pop culture, huh?
Popping some into pop culture.
Yes, sir.
What do you say? Why don't we go look at some Kamala clips?
Let's do it. Kamala clips, they're coming. So first of all, Kamala, she went all over, all the shows basically, and she went on Call Her Daddy. She went on Howard Stern. She went on 60 Minutes. Oh, she's on Howard Stern?
She was on Howard Stern.
Howard Stern is another cuck. I don't know what happened to that guy.
Yeah.
He used to be cool back in the day. Him, Will Ferrell's now doing some crazy movie where he's like, I don't know if you saw, but apparently his best friend, a writer for SNL, came out as trans after like 30 years. And Will Ferrell has his whole documentary on Netflix now, where he travels around with them and he's trying to get used to him in his new body and his new being, right? And they're just cracking jokes and they're kind of making jokes. And it's like, everyone, it's cool. It's just totally normal. If you have friends like this, accept them as their new self. And I'm like, that is fucking propaganda if I've ever seen it. Absolutely. And what sucks is using someone everyone likes. There's no real Will Ferrell haters, I think.
Yeah, no.
Until now. Like, dude, you're gonna make an entire documentary about how it's so cool and so modern and so like, I'm doing it and I'm Will Ferrell, so you should do it too. Like, without any knowledge of what he's actually doing to children. I don't know if he's blackmailed too, or I don't know if it's just he's lived in Hollywood for too long, but
that's always the two options, right? It's either he's being blackmailed or these elites are so disattached from average Americans' reality of what's, what we actually think, not what goes on in their elite circles, that they start to do this weird stuff. Yeah. I mean, I really don't know why otherwise, right? I mean, with Howard Stern, it seems like this guy is just brain is rotten. Like we were talking about this the other day, ideology supersedes reality at that point. And when that happens, he starts to enter a very scary and dangerous territory. But let's look at what she said on Howard Stern. So first of all, Kamala Harris tells Howard Stern that Trump doesn't care about American needs. What did that look like?
Howard, people ask me, like, what do you think is going on and what is the tension here? What's at stake? And there are many things, and I can be much more articulate than what I'm going to say. But ultimately, I do believe that this is
word salad.
An election that is about strength versus weakness.
Yeah.
And weakness as projected by someone who puts himself in front of the American people and does not have the strength to stand in defense of their needs, their dreams, their desires, the work that must happen to make sure that we are a secure nation, that we are nurturing and protecting our alliances around the world, that we are supporting America's
word salad,
that we are fighting to bring the cost of living down for working families, that we are building businesses, building growth.
So what? I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't understand what the point of that response was. And I mean, well, she did preface it by saying, I can't articulate it as well as I should, or as some people could, or whatever she said. And she's that's the first lie, I think, or that's the first truth I think she's told.
She said a bunch of nothing there. And it's again,
nothing burger.
If she's proclaiming all this stuff, she's going to do this. She's so different from Trump and whatnot. What about the last 3.5 years? I mean, look, simple facts like you're giving $750. And I understand that is the first payment. But shouldn't that be a little bit more when we give $160 million to like Lebanon the following day?
The following day.
Like, what a slap to the face of Americans.
Even the sheriff of Asheville or one of those counties came out and said, this is despicable. Go and give them more money. We don't need your help over here. And while you're searching for that, I want to pull up Polymarket. Just came out today. they have Kamala Harris at 46.2% and Trump at 53.3%. And I believe this is his largest lead that he's had on Poly Market. I believe it's the largest. So that's about a 6-point swing, 46, almost 7-point swing there. So people apparently are looking at this like Kamala has no chance.
Yeah.
You know? But here's the thing: is I want to caution people when you see things like this. It doesn't mean that you can stay home and not vote, because that's what they count on. You need to still go vote, even if you think Trump is winning by 10, 15 points. You still need to go vote.
Absolutely. I actually found that video, but yeah, let's listen to it. This is
Sean Hannity,
just briefly. This is the sheriff of the town that was devastated the most. It's called Chimney Rock. So he's the sheriff there, and he explains what he thinks about Kamala Harris giving $750 in FEMA payments.
Message for the White House and how they've handled the situation up here in North Carolina. What would your message be, Sheriff Wright?
If you're going to do the things you've been talking about doing, we just send you stay out of the way and let the good men and women around the mountain area and the foothills take care of our own, because you're nothing more than a boat anchor.
No help. FEMA hasn't been helpful.
Wait a minute. That lady that's running for president talks about the $750. Huh. What about all that money you give to Ukraine and all these other people that really want to kill us, don't want to do anything to help us? Why don't you just give that money to them? That's who you want to give it to begin with.
And a lot of people have been turned down for the $750. Almost everybody I've spoken to hasn't received any of the funding, and they've been turned down for personal items.
Well, they talked about get on your phone or your computer. Do you not see what the devastation is? They don't have a phone or a computer.
There's nothing up here. There's no communication. I'm going to be posting this later. There's no way to access the internet unless you have a Starlink net. And everybody's.
Thank you, Elon Musk, by the way.
Ooh,
yes,
thanks,
you,
Papa.
Elon Musk.
President Donald Trump, we need you.
What are the? Yes.
I mean, look, okay, so let's just talk about that right there.
That's an endorsement right there, man.
That right there alone should just be played throughout the entire state of North Carolina, played in Florida, even though we don't really need to, and also play that across battleground states like Pennsylvania. Because Pennsylvania, if you think Kamala Harris becomes president, is going to do anything when a disaster happens or when certain drugs are funneling through your country because of whatever's happening at the border, then think twice. Seriously.
She's going to take Joe Biden's seat at the beach. She's going to say, hey, Joe, can you leave that little beach chair there? I want to get in it. And she's going to go in it.
That's where you run away from dark MAGA.
Yeah. Dark MAGA's after you.
Right. But
I actually got a dark MAGA hat I'm going to start wearing as well. So
let's see what she said on The View. Things just get better and better for her.
Another center of brilliance.
So she was asked, would you have done something different than President Biden during the past 4 years? Let's listen to her answer.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact. Yeah. The work that we have done, for example, capping the cost of insulin at $35 a month for our seniors is something I care deeply about allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices and bring the cost of prescription medication down for seniors. But my intention is to expand that for all Americans. Mm-hmm. The work we have done to invest in American industries, whether it be in terms of manufacturing and creating almost 800,000 new jobs around manufacturing. Those were all a shared priority.
Well, would you have done something differently?
Shared priority.
Oh my God.
Just nonstop. By the way, that looks like it was the same day, because I think the outfit was the same one she had on for Howard Stern. At least that like coat she had on was the same one.
They have like a blitz strategy right now. Get her on every show right now. Let her screw up just one time on every show, because it's all happens on the same day. And there you go. But Fabian, so I just wanted to say, let's just touch base real quickly on what she said. She said that she would have not done a single thing different in the last 4 years. That means that Americans, if you're sitting at home and you're hearing this stuff, that means that expect the same stuff that happened in the last 4 years, the next 4 years. That means an open border and another 10, 15 million illegal immigrants coming through the southern border. That means your prices continuing to go up. And if you forgot, you're currently under Trump's tax cut plan, and it is set to expire at the end of 2025. She already said that she's going to increase his taxes. She's not going to extend his taxes, right? And she's not going to make them any lower. She already said she's going to make them higher. So take into account all of this various stuff. And what is happening today, right now, in terms of these disasters, is she's trying to politicize everything. So every disaster that will happen, whether it's something like in Hawaii, whether it's a chemical spill like in East Palestine, Ohio, that is how they're going to respond to this stuff. So make sure that you vote accordingly in the next 30 days, because you're seeing front row right now what a President Kamala Harris would be.
Yep, exactly.
Fabian, should we take a look at the 60 minutes and we'll wrap things up, I guess?
Oh,
after?
that's my favorite one. Let's do it.
So maybe you have a better video, because I have how they, I guess, cut
that's
the
a good
60
one, yeah.
minute, right? So apparently they had to do a bunch of editing with the 60-minute interview. Apparently it was absolutely terrible. So
yeah, they literally edited parts that she said in other areas of the interview to answer questions that she was asked earlier in their interview. So if that's not editing, I don't know what is.
Let's look at this.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
What a difference. And that's exactly why they have been so scared to let her out there. That's why she has to do an interview, her first big interview, with her running mate, sitting right there, supporting her, cuddling her, doing whatever kind
cuddling
of stuff.
and coddling at the exact same time.
At the same time. So, Fabian,
oh,
I think that does it, huh?
Yes, it does. Thank you for joining in, everyone. It's been incredible spending this time with you. Thank you for sticking around so long. 3 things that we ask you to do with: number 1, like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. It really helps get us past the algorithm and get us out to even more people. We're at a critical junction right now with less than a month to go until the biggest election of our lifetime. So make sure that what you hear, the talking points that you hear, the arguments that you hear us give, utilize those in your everyday life. When you talk to people, you can actually tell them, here's what common sense is, here's what's really happening, and this is why I think you should vote for Donald Trump. So thank you for sticking around, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
And also, that's it.